Foreword of Yanks, A.E.F. American Expeditionary Forces Verse from World War I. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Yanks, A.E.F. American Expeditionary Forces Verse from World War I by Various. Originally published in The Stars and Stripes, the official newspaper of the American Expeditionary Forces. Foreword. The A.E.F. was about the most sentimental outfit that ever lived. Most of it, so it seemed to anyone who served on the staff of the Stars and Stripes, wrote poetry. All of it read poetry. The Army's Poets column, in which some 100,000 lines of verse were printed during the course of the Army newspaper's existence, was reread, cut out, sent home, pinned or pasted up in dugouts, Adrian barracks and mess shacks, laughed over, and, in all likelihood, wept over. It was good verse. Occasionally the meter was out of joint, the rhymes faulty, the whole mechanism awry, but it was good verse for all that, for it rang true, every syllable of it, however the scansion may have halted or the expression blundered. It was inspired by mud and cooties and gas and mess kits and Boche 77s and home and mother, all subordinated to a determination to stick it through, whatever the time and pains involved. Various anthologies of war verse have appeared in America. Nearly all have consisted almost wholly of the work of non-combatant poets, indeed of professionals who wrote smoothly, visioned the horror with facile accuracy for what it was, and interpreted well for people who didn't get to the war. Yanks is the work of men who got there. It is a source book of A.E.F. emotion. Yanks is composed entirely of selections from the verse published in the Stars and Stripes during the 9 months of the pre-armistice career and 7 months before the Army newspaper, according to the pledge of its editors, was folded away, never to be taken out again. The profits from the original edition were to have been used to buy fruit and delicacies for American sick and wounded in overseas hospitals, and would have been but for the decision of the Judge Advocate General of the A.E.F., who, after the publication and sale of the volume, refused to permit the expenditure of the proceeds because of a technicality. The royalties accruing from the sale of this volume will be devoted to the Stars and Stripes Fund for French War Orphans, to which 600,000 American soldiers gave more than 2,200,000 francs during their stay in France. This republication is made with the consent and approval of Newton D. Baker, Secretary of War, under the direction of the former editorial council of the Stars and Stripes, now associated in the publication of The Home Sector. John T. Wintrich. End of foreword. Just Thinkin', by Hudson Hawley, Private MGBN, read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Just thinkin'. Standin' up here on the fire step, lookin' ahead in the mist, with a tin hat over your ivory and a rifle clutched in your fist, waitin' and watchin' and wonderin' if the Hun's comin' over tonight. Say, ain't the things you think of enough to give you a fright? Things you ain't even thought of for a couple of months or more. Things that'll set you laughin'. Things'll make you sore. Things that you saw in the movies, things that you saw on the street, things that you're really proud of, things that are not so sweet. Debts that are past collectin', stories you hear and forget, ball games and birthday parties, hours of drill in the wet, headlines, recruitin' posters, sunsets way out at sea, evenings of paydays. Golly, it's a queer thing, this memory. Faces of pals in Homburg, voices of womenfolk, Verses you learnt in school days pop up in the mist and smoke as you stand there, grippin' that rifle, a starin' and chilled to the bone, wonderin' and wonderin' and wonderin', just thinkin' there, all alone. When will the war be over? When will the gang break through? What will the U.S. look like? What will there be to do? Where will the Boches be then? Who will have married Nell? When's that relief a comin' up? Gosh, but this thinkin's hell. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To the Kid Sister, by J.T.W. Private A.S. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. To the Kid Sister. You were only a kid, little sister, when I started over the sea, but you've grown quite a lot since I came here, and you've written a letter to me, and nobody knows that you wrote it. It's a secret, and we'll keep it well, your brother and you and the ocean, and nobody's going to tell. You were only a tot when I left you. I remember I bade you good-bye, and I kissed you, a little bit flustered, and you promised you never would cry. But I know that you cried, little sister, as soon as I'd gone out the door. And did I cry myself? Well, I'm a soldier, so don't ask me anything more. I think of you often, kid sister. You're the only kid sister I've got. I know you'll be good to your mother, and I know that you'll help her a lot. And whenever she seems to be gloomy, you've just got to cheer her somehow. You were only a kid to your brother, but you're more than the world to him now. J.T.W. Private A.S. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Corporal's Chevrons, by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Corporal's Chevrons. Oh, the general with his shiny stars leadin' a parade, the colonel and the adjutant a sportin' of their braid, the major and the skipper, none of 'em look so fine as a newly minted corporal comin' down the line. Oh, the bishop in his mitre pacin' up the aisle, the governor frock-coated with a Votes for Women smile, the congressman, the mayor aren't in it, I opine, with a newly minted corporal comin' down the line. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. You're Not a Fan, Pierrette, by S.H.C. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. You're not a fan, Pierrette. I'll take you to the Follies, dear, if there you think you'd like to go. I'll buy you beaucoup wine and beer down at the gay casino show. In short, I'll do whatever task your little heart desires to name, save one. You must never ask to see another baseball game. Your understanding is immense at compraying the jokes they spring in vaudeville shows, and you're not dense because you like to hear me sing. But, chérie, you will never be the one to set my heart aflame, because you simply cannot see the inside of a baseball game. When you and I were watching while the Doughboys battled the Marines, did classy hitting make you smile? Did you rejoice in home run scenes? Ah, no. When Meyer slammed the pill, they couldn't find it for a week. You turned to me and said, "Oh, Bill, I think his uniform is chic." And did you holler, "Attaboy," when Powell zipped 'em 1, 2, 3, and made the Doughboys dance with joy? Was yours the voice that rose in glee? Not so. You made your escort feel like one big foolish roasted goose when all the bleachers heard you squeal, "But Bill, his nose is so retrousse." So when you don your new chapeau hereafter for a promenade, remember that no more we'll go to sit beneath the grandstand shade. Your curtain calls are surely great where thespians tread the boards of fame, but gosh, you can't appreciate a good old Yankee baseball game. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. My Sweetheart by Frank C. McCarthy, Sergeant A.S. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. I saw her in a dream as though in life, her form, her soft blue eyes, her eider hair, which fell as silken golden portals, draped before her bosom fair. She whispered in my ear, "Sweetheart, be brave, we'll back you up in all you do and dare." Then, bending o'er, she pressed her lips to mine. I woke. She was not there. Frank C. McCarthy, Sergeant A.S. This recording is in the public domain. Dad's Letters by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. My dad ain't just the letter-writing kind. He'd rather let the women see to that. He's got a mess of troubles on his mind, and likes to keep 'em underneath his hat. And p'raps because he isn't very strong on talking, why, he's kind of weak on ink. But he can work like sin the whole year long, and crikey, how that dad of mine can think! When I set out from Homeville last July, he didn't bawl the way my sister did. He just shook hands and says, "Well, boy, good by." He's got his feelings, but he keeps 'em hid. And so when Mother writes about the things that I spend half my time a thinking of, there's one short line that every letter brings: "Father will write, and meanwhile sends his love." Father will write. Well, some day p'raps he will. There's lots of funny prophecies come true. But if he just keeps promising to, still I'll understand, and Dad'll know I do. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Mademoiselle 75 by J. M. H. F.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Oh, a mistress fit for a soldier's love is the graceful 75, as neat and slim and as strong and trim as ever a girl alive. Where the steel blue sheen of her mail is seen, and the light of her flashing glance in the broken spray of the roaring fray, is the soul of embattled France. Her love is true as the heavens blue. She will fight for her love till death. Her hate is a flame no fear can tame, that slays with the lightning's breath. For the sun of day turns fogged and gray, and night is a reeling hell when she swings the flail of the shrapnel's hail, or looses the bursting shell. From high Lorraine to the Somme and the Aisne she has held at bay the Hun, that with broken strength he may pay at length for the sins that his race has done. For Alsace, torn from the motherland, ravished and mocked and chained; for Belgium, nailed to the martyr's cross, for holding her faith unstained. Thou, maid, who camp'st like a beacon flame in thy people's darkest hour, who bade them thrill with patriot will by the spell of thy mystic power, as thou gav'st them heart to speed the dart from arquebus and bow, give us to drive with the 75 our bolts on a baser foe, that we, who have come from freedom's home across the western wave, such blows shall give that France may live as once for us she gave. May our good guns play with a stinging spray on the Prussian ranks of war, and spite them yet as did Lafayette the hireling Huns of yore. May we aim again at a tyrant's men as straight and swift a blow as at Yorktown came with smoke and flame from the guns of Rochambeau. Oh, a mistress fit for our soldier love is the 75, our boast, our hope and pride, like a new won bride, but the dread of the Kaiser's host. J. M. H., F.A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Home is Where the Pie Is, by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Home is where the heart is, thus the poet sang, but home is where the pie is for the doughboy gang. Crullers in the craters, pastry in the abries. Our Salvation Army lass sure knows how to please. Watch her roll the pie crust mellower than gold. Watch her place it neatly within its ample mold. Sniff the grand aroma while it slowly bakes, though the whine of minnie shells echoes far awakes. Tin hat for a halo, ah, she wears it well. Making pies for homesick lads sure is beating hell. In a region blasted by fire and flame and sword, our Salvation Army lass battles for the Lord. Call me sacrilegious and irreverent, too. Pies? They link us up with home as naught else can do. Home is where the heart is, true, the poet sang, but home is where the pie is to the Yankee gang. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. How It Works Out, by Tyler H. Bliss, Corporal, Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. When Jonesy joined the army he had all the dope down fine. Said he, "I'd ought to land the cush, though serving in the line. A private's pay is 30, then by adding 10%, that's 33, and now let's see, in this here now French currency, 5.60 rate makes 188, or thereabouts. Why, hell, that's great. It's more'n enough to buy me stuff and let me throw a swell front bluff, because my chow is paid for now, and I don't need but to allow a little kale for vin or ale, and maybe some day blow a frail to vaudeville in Gay Paris, or some live joint like that city. Why, I'll be flush. Besides, friend Government is staking me the rent." On payday Jones was right on deck, an outstretched cap in view. He thought by trusting to his hands some clackers might leak through. He'd planned to split his wages among all the leading banks, but the Q.M. just said, "Ahem! Expenses come to quite a sum, though where the tin is coming from is not my care, but your affair. We'll have to charge you for a pair of leggins lost, 10 francs the cost. On board the ship we note you tossed a cigarette into the wet. Subs might upon our trail have set. That'll put you back 92. Insurance, bonds, allotments, too. In short, you owe the Government just 87 francs." Tyler H. Bliss, Corporal, Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Faith, by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. I heard the cannon's monotone a mile or two away, but in the shell-torn town I saw 2 little boys at play. From what was yesterday a home I heard the cannons booming, but in the garden I could see a bed of pansies blooming. Along the weary, dreary road, forspent and dull, I trod, but in the sky of spring I saw the countenance of God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Orphans of France, by Franklin P. Adams, Captain, U.S.A., and Stuart H. Carroll, Sergeant, QMC. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Orphans of France. Gone are the games that they should be playing, gone are the trinkets to childhood dear. Hushed are the voices that should be saying words of parental cheer. Give them the joy that is theirs by birthright. Give them the smiles they are robbed of. Give them the love that is childhood's earthright. Give them the right to live. Franklin P. Adams, Captain, USA. Give, and the baby buds shall grow in childhood's sheltered garden plot. Give, and the coming years shall show each blossom a forget-me-not. Give, and the dawn of lonesome years shall turn to a springtime morning mild. Give, and receive through a mist of tears the blessing of a little child. Stuart H. Carroll, Sergeant, QMC. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Reveille by Ray L. Huff, Private, M.D. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Reveille. Get up, you sleepy head, and grab your socks and trow. Get up, get out of bed, you're in the army now. Get up, you carrion beast, get up and dig for chow. It doesn't matter what you think, you're in the army now. Get up and powder, rouge, and curl, and dress, no matter how, but don't be late for reveille, you're in the army now. Get up, you foozle, ninny, boob. There's eggs and cheese and ham for officers, and slum for you, you slave of Uncle Sam. But don't you fret, or don't you fume, for honest Injun, how would you have felt if you were not in Uncle's army now? Ray L. Huff, Private, M.D. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Full Directions by Daniel Turner Balmer, A.S. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Full Directions. We saw them, but we did not need to ask where lay the front. Their clothes were neat and rolls aback, well made. They marched with faces wrinkled not by smiles or many frowns, betokening men determined, unafraid. Once more we saw them, needing not to ask where lay the front. Their clothes were soiled, and packs in careless roll. They, greeting, made their way along with faces tired yet bright, betokening men who fought with heart and soul. We need not hear the cannon's boom to know where action lies, nor yet to seek until we find the place for map and compass, signboard, news we're ever getting from the look upon the passing poilu's face. Daniel Turner Balmer, A.S. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. On Learning French by Alfred J. Fritchie, Camp Hospital 30. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. On Learning French. Like silver bells heard in a mist, or moonstone echoes from some brook where silver birches wall a nook, or like sea ripples moonlit kissed, or like a lake of silver ledges where iris water lilies lave, or like some lark's translucent wave of song above white hawthorn hedges. The maiden ripples French to me, but I am like an Argonaut in some mute agony of thought, lost in sound's sweet tranquillity. Alfred J. Fritchie, Camp Hospital 30. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Who Said Sunny France? By Jack Warren Carroll, Corporal F.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Who said sunny France? It lies on your blankets and over your bed, There's mud in the cover that covers your head. There's mud in the coffee, the slum, and the bread. Sunny France! There's mud in your eyebrows, there's mud up your nose, there's mud on your leggins to add to your woes. The mud in your boots finds its place 'twixt your toes. Sunny France! Oh, the grimy mud, the slimy mud, the mud that makes you swear, the cheesy mud, the greasy mud that filters through your hair. You sleep in the mud, and drink it, that's true. There's mud in the bacon, the rice, and the stew. When you open an egg you'll find mud in it, too. Sunny France! There's mud in the water, there's mud in the tea, there's mud in your mess kit as thick as can be. It sticks to your fingers like leaves to a tree. Oh, sunny France! Oh, the ruddy mud, the muddy mud, the mud that gets your goat, the sliding mud, the gliding mud that sprays your pants and coat. It cakes in your mouth till you feel like an ox. It slips down your back and it rests in your socks. You think that you're walking on cut glass and rocks. Sunny France! There's mud in your gas mask, there's mud in your hat, there's mud in your helmet, there's mud on your gat. Yet though mud's all around us, we're happy at that. Sunny France! Oh, the dank, dank mud, the rank, rank mud. There's just one guy to blame. We'll wish him well, we will like hell, and Kaiser Bill's his name. Jack Warren Carroll, Corporal, F.A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Truant by R. Kirk, Private, G2 SOS. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Truant. The wise years saw him go from them, untaught by them, yet wise. He had but romped with the hoyden years, unwitting how time flies, whose laughter glooms to wistfulness at swift, undreamt good-byes. The wise, grave, patient mistresses of his young manhood's school, the wise, grave, patient years to be, he never knew their rule. And yet he marches by a man, a hero, and no fool. The wise years see him go from them, untaught by them, yet wise. The lad who played where, yesterday, girls' kisses were the prize. They wonder whence his manhood came, so well he lives and dies. R. Kirk, Private, G2 SOS. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Tribute by FMHD, F.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Tribute. There's tumultuous confusion a-comin' down the road, and the camouflage don't nearways hide the dust, and ain't no flock of camions, though some's carrying a load. I guess the provost winked or got it fussed. But now it's comin' closer, and you can tell 'em by the roar. It's the 102nd Infantry a-goin' it once more. Oh, they've met the Hun at the length of a gun, and they know what he is and they mind what he's done. So that's why they sing as they slog to more fun. You doughboys, you slow boys, here's luck, and let her go, boys. We like you, infantry. Now us in the artillery don't live no life of ease, nor yet particular security. For the present that Fritz sends us, one can't dodge behind the trees, unless trees was much thicker than they be. But we know our lot is doughnuts, orders home, and gay Paris to what you march to singin', 102nd Infantry. Oh, there's numerous blanks in your company ranks, But there's two in the Boches for one in the Yanks, And all that he guv you returned him with thanks. You doughboys, you slow boys, here's luck, and let her go, boys. We like you, infantry. F. M. H. D. F. A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Sea Stuff by Stuart M. Emery, Private, M.P. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Sea Stuff. Now I'm a soldier, so I ain't no hand at art, but say, there's things at sea I'd like to paint before I'm tucked away. A cruiser on the sunrise track, alert to find the morn, with every funnel belching black into the red gold dawn. A flock of transports, crazy lined, on blue-green waves advance that sink their bows, all spray and dewed, hell bootin' it for France. A manned gun peering out to port as evening shadows close. Beyond, a ship slipped up and caught against a cloud of rose. A crow's nest loomin' from below across the Milky Way's bars, just like a cradle rockin' slow and sung to by the stars. No, I can't paint the things I've seen while we were passin' by, but all the same they sure have been worth lookin' at, say I. Stuart M. Emery, Private, M.P. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Letters by Mel Ryder, Sergeant Major, Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Letters. My buddy reads his letters to me, and say he sure can write. I have to sit and chew my pen, and even then the way it reads when I get through I know it's pretty sad as far as composition goes. The grammar, too, is bad. But talk about gee, he can sling the ink to beat the band, and picture everything he's seen a way that sure is grand. I got him to write a note to my gal, and golly, it was fine. I copied it and signed my name, but all the same it didn't seem to please her, for she wrote in her reply she'd read it several times, and it didn't sound like I was sayin' exactly what I meant, and was I feelin' good? I'm kind of glad she took it so. In fact, I hoped she would. Mel Ryder, Sergeant Major, Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Soldier Smiles by Alan A. Stockdale, Captain, U.S.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Soldier Smiles. You may talk of kings and princes and the glory of their show. You may sing of knights and ladies in the days of long ago. You may paint a vivid picture of the wonder worlds to see, but the smiles on soldiers' faces look the best of all to me. They are gassed and shelled and tortured, they are muddy, thin, and weak. They are shocked and shot and shattered, and you marvel when they speak. They will give their all in battle that the world may be made free, and their smiles amidst their sorrows are real miracles to see. They have smiled since they were babies. Laughter, love have been their charms, and their smiles were patriotic when their country called to arms. They go laughing to the trenches, filling fighting lines with glee, and with smiles they come back wounded. Those are smiles that puzzle me. Kings and kaisers may be mighty as the bloody brutes of war. They may use the worst of weapons never dreamed of ere before. But they're sure to meet disaster over land and on the sea, for the soldier boys of freedom fight and smile the whole world free. Allen A. Stockdale, Captain, USA. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Beefing by H. H. Huss, Sergeant, Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Beefing. It seems I'm never satisfied, no matter where I go. My job's a cinch, my duty's soft. I still find grief and woe. If I'm stationed in a training camp where drills are very light, I holler to be sent up front to get into the fight. When we were in the USA I thought we had no chance, and I wasn't really satisfied till on my way to France. We've been here now about 6 months, and if I had kept track I'll bet I've said 1,000 times, "I wish that I was back." And when I was a corporal I belly ached around and thought a better sergeant than I'd make could not be found. I've had 3 stripes for 8 long months, and still I curse my luck and threaten that I'll tear 'em off and go back to a buck. For when they try to please me and dish out first-class chow, and there's sugar in the coffee, I'll holler anyhow, and if I was sent to heaven and up there was doing well, I wouldn't yet be satisfied till I'd got a look at hell. H. H. Huss, Sergeant, Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Tank by Richard C. Colburn, Sergeant, Tank Corps. The Tank. Oh, she's nothin' sweet to look at and no symphony to hear. She ain't no poem of beauty, that's a cinch. She howls like holy jumpin' when a feller shifts a gear. But she's sure a lovey-dovey in a pinch. Just head her straight for Berlin, and no matter what the road, or whether it's just trenches, trees, and mud, and I'll guarantee she'll get there with her precious human load, and her treads a drippin' red with German blood. Oh, you tank, tank, tank! She's a pippin, she's a daisy, she's a dream. Where the star shells are a-lightin' up the thickest of the fighting, she'll be sailin' like a demon through the gleam. If the way is rough and stony and the vantage point is far, just slip her into high and hang on tight. Shove your foot down on the throttle, and to hell with all the jar. She'll take you clean from here to out of sight. Course you've got to clean and scrub her the same as any piece of tin that's worth the smoke to blow her up the flue. But just whisper to her gently, pat her back and yell, "Git up!" and there ain't a thing she wouldn't do for you. Oh, you tank, tank, tank! She's a Lulu, she's a cuckoo, she's the goods. When the Boches see you comin', they will set the air to hummin', a wavin' of their legs to reach the woods. When the last great rush is over and the last grim trench is past, she will roll in high right through old Berlin town, her grim old sides a shakin' and her innards raisin' hob, intent on runnin' Kaiser William down. Then she'll find him, and we'll bind him to her grinding, tearin' treads, and we'll start her rollin' on the road to hell, shove her into high, and leave her, tie her bloomin' throttle down. We'll say she's lived her life and lived it well. Oh, you tank, tank, tank! She's a devil, she's a dandy, she's sublime. When her grimy hide goes hurlin' through the dirty streets of Berlin, watch the goose step change to Yankee double time. Richard C. Colburn, Sergeant, Tank Corps. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The New Army by R. R. Kirk, SSU. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The New Army. Who are those soldiers who go marching down? They're the young fellows of your old home town. The butcher's son, the baker's, his honor's lad, too, the old casual mixture of Gentile and Jew. Don't they march manly? Aye, they step light, and soon by the papers you'll see they can fight. R. R. Kirk, SSU. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Toujours le même, by Vance C. Chris, Corporal, Engineers. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Toujours le même. No matter how wise or how foolish the company's cook may be, when down at the table we're seated, two things we all plainly can see. When we look at the chow, there's the bosom of sow, and beans, beans, beans. If quartered in city or country, the cook never misses his aim. If messing in swamp or on mountain, two things will remain quite the same. Though it may cause a row, we get bosom of sow, and beans, beans, beans. When tasks for the day are all ended and weary our body and brain, small matter it makes if we're eating indoors or outside in the rain. The cook makes his bow with a bosom of sow, and beans, beans, beans. Of all that I've learned in the army, this fact I am sure I know well, and others are certain to tell you: the soldier's worst picture of hell is thrice daily chow, with a bosom of sow, and beans, beans, beans. Vance C. Chris, Corporal, Engineers. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To the West Wind, by William S. Long, Corporal, A.S. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. To the West Wind. West wind, you've come from there. Surely my girlie breathed in your truant air. Did you kiss my girlie? Seemed then asleepin' she, as you passed merrily? Whispered she aught of me, dreaming full tenderly? West wind, turn back your speed, blow to my girlie. Turn back, you wind, and heed, hie to my girlie. Elfin-like seeming, close to her hover. Into her dreaming, say that I love her. William S. Long, Corporal, A.S. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Driver, by F. M. H. D. F. A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Driver. I'm a slouch and a slop and a sluffer, and my ears they are covered with hair, and I frequent inhabit the guard house. I'll be prive until fini la guerre, but my off horse she signs like a countess, and my nigh made the general blink, and they pull like twin bats fresh from Hades, and they're quick as a demi-monde's wink. Oh, it's often I'm late at formations, and it's taps I completely disdain, and my bunk it brings tears from the captain, and the cooties are at me again. But when there's a piece in the mire, with her muzzle just rimming the muck, then it's hustle for me and my beauties. If they don't, they are S.O. of luck. And when there's some root that's receivin' its tender regards from the Huns, then we gallop hell-bent for election to our duty of feeding the guns. The gas, the H.E., and the shrapnel, they brighten our path as they burst, but they've never got me or my chevals. They'll have to catch up to us first. I'm a slouch and a slop and a sluffer, and my ears they are covered with hair, and I frequent inhabit the guard house. I'll be prive until fini la guerre, but My hosses they neigh when I'm comin', and my sarge knows how hefty they drag, and the cap lent me 10 francs this mornin'. Here's to him, and to me, and the flag. F. M. H. D. F. A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Song of the Censor Man by John Fletcher Hall, Sergeant Infantry, Acting Chaplain. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Song of the Censor Man. Oh, I am the man with a mightier pen than the chisel the lawgiver knew. The snip of my shears is more dreaded of men than the sword that Napoleon drew. I foil the young man with a nose for the news, and I stifle the first feeble note of the soldier who ventures to air any views that he never was paid to promote. Oh, it's snip, snip, snip is the rhythmic swing of my shears in the morning light, and clip, clip, clip is the raucous ring of their voice in the starry night. I may strike from the calendar all of its dates, and I rob every town of its name, and rarely a letter but sadly relates the tale of my terrible fame. Oh, I know all the secrets that ever were told, till every unfortunate praise that the book of omnipotent knowledge I hold may be sealed to the end of my days. On each written syllable, proudly I state, I pronounce benediction or ban, for I'm the personification of fate, the redoubtable Censor Man. John Fletcher Hall, Sergeant, Infantry, Acting Chaplain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Do You Know This Guy? By Frank Eisenberg, Private, Tel Bien. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Do you know this guy? One hears at sound of reveille, straight through till taps is blown, "Gimme, lemme take your razor. Have you got a sou to loan?" Or maybe, "Gosh, I lost my towel. Lemme take yours, will you, Bill? Have you got some extra sumcoms? I want to wet me gill." All through the day it's e'er the same, week in, week out. "Say, Bo, I'm just a few francs shy to day. What's chances for a throw? You know me, Al, me woids me bond. I've never stuck a pal, but I simply got to keep that date or hunt another gal. Have you an extra undershirt? The Major's gonna see what makes the men so nervous like and scratch so frequently. I'm going to promenade ce soir. Lemme take your new puttees. Ah, mine's been muddy for a week. Loose up, you tight old cheese. I don't know where me money goes. It takes the prize for speed. The next day after we've been paid can't buy a punk French weed. Next month I'll have to slacken up or jump into the lake." But till that old ghost walks again, it's "Gimme, lemme take." Frank Eisenberg, Private, Tel Bien. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Camouflage by M. G. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Camouflage. They tell us tales of camouflage, the art of hiding things, of painted forts and bowered guns invisible to wings. Well, it's nothing new to us, the rank and file. We understand this camouflage. We left home with a smile. We saw the painted battleships and earthen-colored trains, and plains the hue of leaden skies, and canvas-hidden lanes. Well, we used the magic art that day of anxious fears. We understand this camouflage. We laughed away your tears. They say that scientific men and artists of renown debated long on camouflage before they got it down. Well, it came right off to us. We didn't have to learn. We understand this camouflage. We said we'd soon return. We understand this camouflage, this art of hiding things. It's what's behind the soldier's jokes and all the songs he sings. Yes, it's nothing new to us, the rank and file. We understand this camouflage. We left home with a smile. M.G. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Trench Mud by John J. Curtin, Sergeant Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Trench Mud. We have heard of Texas gumbo and the mud in the Philippines, where, if we had legs like Jumbo, the mud would cover our jeans. But never did we get a chance to feel real mud till we hit France. Our shoes are deep in it, we often sleep in it, we almost weep in it. It's everywhere. We have to fight in it and vent our spite in it. We look a sight in it, but we don't care. The mud that lies in no man's land is as thick on the other side, and where the Germans make their stand is where we'll make them slide. For our hobnailed shoes will force away, and we'll knock them cold for the USA. Though we must eat in it, wash our feet in it, try to look neat in it, this mud and slime, though we get sore in it, grumble and roar in it, we'll win the war in it, in our good time. John J. Curtin, Sergeant Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. I Love Corned Beef by A.P.B. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. I love corned beef. I love corned beef. I never knew how good the stuff could taste in stew. I love it wet, I love it dry. I love it baked and called meat pie. I love it camouflaged in hash. $100 I'd give in cash to have a barrel of such chow a standin' here before me now. I say yum yum when soupy blows. I sniff and raise aloft my nose. Corned Willie! Ha! Oh, boy, that's fine! Can hardly keep my place in line. I kick my heels and wildly yell. Old Sherman said that war is hell. But gladly would I bear the heat if corned beef I could get to eat. I love it hot, I love it cold. Corned Willie never will grow old. I love it. Now pause. Listen, friend. When to this war there comes an end, and peace upon the earth shall reign, I'll hop a boat for home again. Then to a restaurant I'll speed. No dainty manners will I heed, but to the waiter I will cry, "Bring me, well, make it corned beef pie, and better bring some corned beef stew, and corned beef cold, I'll take that, too. And now, don't think I'm crazy, man, but could you bring a corned beef can? And wait, I'm not through ordering yet. I want a sirloin steak, you bet, with hash brown spuds. Now listen, friend, I've got the cash, you may depend. Right here it is. Let's see, I'll try. Oh, bring a piece of hot mince pie and all this stuff that's printed here. My appetite is huge, I fear. Then, when he's filled my festive board with all these eats, I'll thank the Lord, for that's the proper thing to do, and then I'll take the corned beef stew, the corned beef pie, and corned beef cold. The corned beef can I'll then take hold, and ram the whole works into it, and say, "Now, damn you, there you'll sit. You've haunted every dream I've had. You don't know what shame is, egad. Now sit there, Bo, see how you feel, and watch me eat a reg'lar meal. A.P.B. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Chaplain's Prayer by Thomas F. Coakley, Lieutenant, Chaplain. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. A Chaplain's Prayer. O Lord, I am not worthy to be found amid these reddened hands who offer an atoning due themselves to Thee, great martyr bands. Let me but kiss the ground they tread, and breathe a prayer above their sod, and gather up the drops they shed, these heroes in the cause of God. Thomas F. Coakley, Lieutenant, Chaplain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Billets by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Billets, dedicated to the gallant peasants of sunny France who owned them, and the officers of the A.E.F. who made the selection for the proletariat. I've slept with horse and sad-eyed cow, I've dreamed in peace with bearded goat, I've laid my head on the rusty plough, and with the pig shared table d'hôte. I've chased the supple, leaping flea as o'er my outstretched form he sped, and heard the sneering rooster's crow when I chased the rabbit from my bed. I've marked the dog's contented growl, his wagging tail, his playful bite. With guinea pig and wakeful owl I've shared my resting place at night, while overhead, where cobweb lace like curtains drapes the oaken beams, the spiders skipped from place to place and sometimes dropped in on my dreams. And when the morning, damp and raw, arrived at last, as if by chance, I've crawled from out the rancid straw and cussed the stable barns of France. And sometimes when the day is done and lengthening shadows pointing long, I dream of days when there was sun and street cars in my daily song. But over here, what a change! The clouds are German silver lined. Who worries when we get the mange? What boots it if our shoes are shined? The day speeds by and night again looms up, a spectre grim and bare. We trek off to the hen house then and climb the cross-barred ladder there. Another biologic night spent in a state sans peace, sans sleep. And as I soothe some stinging bite, I mark the gentle smell of sheep, the smell that wots of grassy dell, of hillsides green where fairies dance. The vision's past, I'm back in hell, an ancient stable barn of France. We've slept with all the gander's flock, by waddling duck we've slumbered on, in fact we've slept with all the stock, and they will miss us when we're gone. We've seen at times the nocturne eyes of playful mouse on evening spree, and the coastwise trade at night he plies with brother louse on a jamboree. We've scratched and fought with foe unseen, and with the candle hunted wide for the bug that thrives on Paris green, but cashes in on bichloride. Perchance may come a night of stars, perchance the snowdrift through the tile, perchance the evil face of Mars peeks in and shows his wicked smile. 'Tis then we dream of other days, when we were free and in the dance, and followed in the old-time ways, far from the stable barns of France. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Muleskinners by William Bradford, 2nd Lieutenant, A.G.D. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Mule Skinners. A wet and slippery road and dusky figures passing in the night, the smell of steaming hide and soaking leather, the muttered oath, the sharp command as troops give way to right, then clatter on through mud and streaming weather. The creak and groan of wheels, and batteries that rumble down the road with pound and splash of hoof and chains a rattle, the driver's spurring chirp, the tugging as the mules take up the load, and, 'bove it all, the roar of distant battle. All night we do our job, hauling the supplies up from the rear, past streams of troops and shell-shot habitation, through rut-worn road, by blackened walls without a light to cheer, on through the night and storm and desolation. This the life we know, the seeming endless driving and the strain, the ever-pushing toil without cessation, necessity to do, through biting wind and cold and chilling rain, and sleepless nights, and lack of rest, privation. This the life we lead, reckless of screaming shell and trusting chance, a soldier's humble task, a soldier's ration. But who of us would trade his soldier's lot, nor want to be in France? Who would not live his life in soldier fashion? William Bradford, 2nd Lieutenant, A.G.D. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Old Overseas Cap, by Fairfax D. Downey, 1st Lieutenant, F.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Old Overseas Cap. The war of the Trojans and all the Greek crew was fought for the sake of a fair lady, who, when absent without leave, for weal or for woe, and took her permission to Paris to go. All Greeks grasped steel helmets, and trench knives, and tanks, and wheel teams, and chariots, and fell into ranks. Shipping boards gave no trouble with quarrels or slips. The beauty of Helen had launched all the ships. All cautioned their sweethearts that since they must go, to keep home hearths heated, on flirting go slow. For each warrior was off to the battle and strife to make the world safe for a good-looking wife. But they'd never have fought if they'd read Helen's note, which just before leaving she hastily wrote: Menelaus just entered our once happy home with an overseas cap on the top of his dome. Fairfax D. Downey, 1st Lieutenant, F.A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Hoggenit, by Med Meek. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Hoggenit. Well, I've eaten food sublime, and I've eaten food that's rotten, from Alaska's coldest corner to where the landscape's cotton. At times there has been plenty, then there's times when there's been none, and I've kept me upper stiffest, for complainin' I'm not one. But it's now that I'm protestin'. Oh, I've suffered silence long. It's fancy food I'm cravin', for me system's goin' wrong. Oh, it's bacon, 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 till your belly's fairly achin' for some biscuits or some hot cakes that in your mouth would melt. There's no German dog could dare me, no fear of death would scare me, if I only had some chicken a la king beneath me belt. Now I read where Mr. Hoover tells the folks to lay off hoggin', we'll be needin' lots of grub to put the Fritz on the toboggan, and the way that they've responded makes you feel so awful proud that you'd like to meet old Bill to take his measure for a shroud. Lord, it's plenty that we're gettin', but I'd be dancin' jigs if they'd pass an order home to stop a killing off the pigs. For it's bacon, 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 till your very soul is shaken. If I could pick me eatin', it's a different song I'd sing. I'd not miss a raiding party, for patrol I'd be quite hearty. Oh, I'd swap me chance of heaven for some chicken a la king. Med Meek. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Man by H.T.S. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Man. Here today in the sunshine I saw a soldier go out of life's heated battle into the evening glow. He was just a common soldier, one of a mighty clan, but every watcher bared his head in honor to the man. We stood there at attention, and the flag-draped coffin came, and we snapped up to salute him, though we never knew his name. He was just a common soldier, but we couldn't salute as well the best old Major General on this bright side of hell. H.T.S. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Song of the Guns by Grantland Rice, 1st Lieutenant, F.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Song of the Guns. This is the song that our guns keep singing here where the dark steel shines. This is the song with their big shells winging over the German lines. We are taking you home by the shortest way. We are taking you out of this blood and slime to the land you left in an ancient day, where lost lanes wander at twilight time. We are bringing you peace in the swift release from the grind where the gas drifts blur. On a steel-shod track we are taking you back. We are taking you back to her. This is the song that our guns keep roaring out through the night and rain. This is the song with their big shell soaring over the battered plain. We are taking you home by the only way, by the only road that will get you back to the dreams you left where the dusk was gray and the night wind sang of a long-lost track. We are bringing you rest from the bitter test, from the pits where the great shells were. Through the bloody loam we are taking you home. We are taking you home to her. Grantland Rice, 1st Lieutenant, F.A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Through the Wheat, the Sergeant's Story by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Through the Wheat, the Sergeant's Story. "There's a job out there for us," said the captain, kinder solemn. "There's a crop out there to gather through the wheat fields just ahead." Through the wheat of Chateau Thierry that was soon to hold our column. "There's a crop out there to gather," that was all the captain said. Oh, at dawn the wheat was yellow, but at night the wheat was red. "There's a crop out there to gather," and we felt contentment stealin' like a ghost from out the shadows of a lost old-fashioned street, for the crop out there before us brought a kinder home-like feelin', though the zippin' German bullets started hissin' through the wheat. But it didn't seem to bother as we slogged along the beat. "There's snakes here," whooped a private as the bullets started hissin', and we saw that Hun machine guns in the thicket formed our crop. So we started for the harvest where a bunch of them was missin', but a bunch of them was hittin' where we hadn't time to stop. But we damned 'em to a finish as we saw a bunkie drop. So we gathered in the harvest, and we didn't leave one missin'. We had gathered crops before this with as tough a job ahead. Through the wheat of Chateau Thierry, with the German bullets hissin', "There's a crop out there to gather," that was all the captain said. Oh, at dawn the wheat was yellow, but at night the wheat was red. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Allies, by Merritt Y. Hughes, Private Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Allies. The French, the British, and the Portuguese, captain or colonel, or king though he be, gives a salute in response to me, Buck Private in Uncle Sam's infantry. There's much that a soldier's salute implies, but it means the most when it means we're allies. In Belgium and in France and Italy they talk in ways that are Greek to me, but the speech of soldier's courtesy is a lingua franca wherever you be. With a single gesture I recognize that I am one of the 20 allies. I never could tell just why it should be that the first salute should be up to me in this queer new army democracy, but every commander must answer me, British or French or Indo-Chinese, captain or colonel, or king though he be. There's much that a soldier's salute implies, but it means the most when it means we're allies. Merritt Y. Hughes, Private Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Buddy, by Howard J. Green, Corporal Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. To Buddy. It's a tough fight for you, Buddy, and it takes a heap of grit to stick and win and keep your grin when you're in the thick of it. It's no cinch for you, Buddy, when the dreams with which you came melt into naught as you are taught the horrid, bitter game. It's a hard pull for you, Buddy, and ofttimes it looks damned blue. Square your chin and vow to win, and play the game clean through. For there's a great time coming, Buddy, a time worth waiting for, when culture's done and all is won, and the boys come home from war. Oh, she'll be waiting, Buddy, and the lovelight in her eye will shine with joy as her big boy goes proudly marching by. It's a hard road for you, Buddy, but it's more than worth the game to buck all fears, so mother's tears will be joy, not shame. Howard J. Green, Corporal Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Wood Called Rouge Bouquet. Copyright 1918 Charles Scribner's and Sons. Copyright 1919 George H. Dorr & Company. By Joyce Kilmer, Sergeant Infantry, killed in action July 30, 1918. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Wood Called Rouge Bouquet, dedicated to the memory of 19 members of Company E, 165th Infantry, who made the supreme sacrifice at Rouge Bouquet, forest of Paroy, France, March 7th. Read by the chaplain at the funeral, the refrain echoing the music of taps from a distant grove. 1. In the woods they call Rouge Bouquet there is a new-made grave, never a spade or pick, yet covered by earth 10 meters. There lie many fighting men, dead in their youthful prime, never to laugh or live again, or taste of the summer-time. For death came flying through the air, and stopped his flight at the dugout stair, touched his prey, and left them there, clay to clay. He hid their bodies stealthily in the soil of the land they sought to free, and fled away. Now over the grave, abrupt and clear, 3 volleys ring, and perhaps their brave young spirits hear. Go to sleep, go to sleep. Taps sounding in distance. 2. There is on earth no worthier grave to hold the bodies of the brave than this spot of pain and pride, where they nobly fought and nobly died. Never fear but in the skies saints and angels stand, smiling with their holy eyes on this new come band. St. Michael's sword darts through the air and touches the aureole on his hair, as he sees them stand saluting there his stalwart sons. And Patrick, Bridget, and Columbkill rejoice that in veins of warriors still the Gael's blood runs, and up to heaven's doorway floats, from the woods called Rouge Bouquet, a delicate sound of bugle notes that softly say, "Farewell, farewell," taps sounding in distance. L'Envoi. Comrades true, born anew, peace to you. Your souls shall be where the heroes are, and your memory shine like the morning star. Brave and dear, shield us here. Farewell. Joyce Kilmer, Sergeant Infantry, killed in action July 30, 1918. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Goodbye by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. We're on the seas for France. We're on our way to make them pay the piper for the dance. To starboard and to port our paint-splotched convoys toss. Grim thunderbolts in rainbow garb, we jam a path across. Our guns are slugged and set to smack the U-boat's eye. God help the Hun that tries his luck. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. The decks are deep with men. We're going out to God knows what. We'll be back, God knows when. Old friends are at our sides, old songs drift out to sea. Oh, it is good to go to war in such a company. The sun is on the waves that race to meet the sky, where strange new shores reach out to us. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, 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 a long and weary while, through all the drab and empty days. Remember us and smile. Our good ship shoulders on along a lane of foam, and every turn the screw goes round is farther still from home. We'll miss the things we left, the more the white miles fly, so keep them till we come again. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Anonymous. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Fields of the Marne. Written by Frank Carbaugh, Sergeant Infantry. Written while lying wounded in hospital. Died August 1918. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Fields of the Marne. The fields of the Marne are growing green. The river murmurs on and on. No more the hail of mitrailleuse. The cannon from the hills are gone. The herder leads the sheep afield, where grasses grow o'er broken blade, and toil-worn women till the soil o'er human mould in sunny glade. The splintered shell and bayonet are lost in crumbling village wall. No sniper scans the rim of hills, no sentry hears the night bird call. From blood-wet soil and sunken trench the flowers bloom in summer light, and farther down the vale beyond the peasant smiles are sad yet bright. The wounded Marne is growing green, the gash of Hun no longer smarts. Democracy is born again, but what about the troubled hearts? Frank Carbaugh, Sergeant Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Nurse's Prayer by Thomas F. Coakley, Lieutenant Chaplain. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. A Nurse's Prayer. O Lord, I must not cry, and yet mine eyes contain such floods of scalding tears that they will never dry, descending soft as rain through all the coming years. Cor Jesu, I must weep when I behold the sight, these men who fought and bled, who moan and cannot sleep, their souls so snowy white, the wounded and the dead. Thomas F. Coakley, Lieutenant Chaplain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Lines on Leaving a Little Town Where We Rested by Russell Lord, Corporal, F.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Lines on Leaving a Little Town Where We Rested. We, with the war ahead, you who have held the line, laughing have broken bread and taken wine. We cannot speak your tongue, we cannot fully know things hid beneath your smile 4 years ago, things which have given us grimly a common debt. Now that we take the field, we won't forget. Russell Lord, Corporal, F.A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Poppies by Joseph Mills Hanson, Captain, F.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Poppies. Poppies in the wheat fields on the pleasant hills of France, reddening in the summer breeze that bids them nod and dance. Over them the skylark sings his lilting, liquid tune. Poppies in the wheat fields, and all the world in June. Poppies in the wheat fields on the road to Monthiers. Hark, the spiteful rattle where the masked machine guns play. Over them the shrapnel's song greets the summer morn. Poppies in the wheat fields, but ah, the fields are torn. See the stalwart Yankee lads, never ones to blench, poppies in their helmets as they clear the shallow trench, leaping down the furrows with eager, boyish tread through the poppied wheat fields to the flaming woods ahead. Poppies in the wheat fields as sinks the summer sun, broken, bruised, and trampled, but the bitter day is won. Yonder in the woodland, where the flashing rifles shine, with their poppies in their helmets, the front files hold the line. Poppies in the wheat field, how still beside them lie scattered forms that stir not when the star shells burst on high, gently bending o'er them beneath the moon's soft glance, poppies of the wheat fields on the ransomed hills of France. Joseph Mills Hanson, Captain, F.A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Poilu by Stuart M. Emery, Private, M.P. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Poilu. You're a funny fellow, Poilu, in your dinky little cap and your war-worn, faded uniform of blue, with your multitude of haversacks abulge from heel to flap, and your rifle that is most as big as you. You were made for love and laughter, for good wine and merry song. Now your sunlit world has sadly gone astray, and the road today you travel stretches rough and red and long, yet you make it, petit soldat, brave and gay. Though you live within the shadow, fagged and hungry half the while, and your days and nights are racking in the line, there is nothing under heaven that can take away your smile. Oh, so wistful and so patient and so fine. You are tender as a woman with the tiny ones who crowd to upraise their lips and for your kisses pout. Still, we'd hate to have to face you when the bugle's sounding loud and your slim steel sweetheart Rosalie is out. You're devoted to mustaches which you twirl with such an air, or a cigarette with a nigh an inch to run, and quite often you are noticed in a beard that's full of hair, but that heart of yours is always 21. No, you do not parler English, and you find it very hard, for you want to chum with us, and words you lack. So you pat us on the shoulder and say, "Nous sommes camarades." We are that, my poilu pal, to hell and back. Stuart Emery, Private, M.P. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. As Things Are, by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. As things are. The old home state is drier now than 47 clucks of 47 desert hens a chewin' peanut shucks. There everybody's standin' sad beside the Fish Hill store, a sweatin' dust and spittin' rust because there ain't no more. The constable, they write, has went a week without a pinch. There ain't no jobs. So there's a gent 'at sure has got a cinch. I ain't goin' to beef a bit, but still it's kind o' nice a knowin' where there's some to git without requestin' twice. Anonymous. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Girl of Girls, by Howard A. Hertie, Corporal, 1st Army Headquarters. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Girl of Girls. When the war god reached out his talons and showed me the way to the fray, my sweethearts shed tears by the gallons. There was weeping and gnashing all day. Don't blame them for crying like babies. I'm surprised they recovered at all, 'cause I sure made a hit with the ladies, just one look at me and they'd fall. Take Evelyn or Peggy or Jenny. They surely were there with the looks, and I've never regretted a penny I blew in on flowers and books. And Mildred, that kid was a thriller, a complexion like peaches and cream. She was sweeter than Marilyn Miller, and Phyllis, oh, boy, what a dream! And now that I'm over the ocean, I remember them each by their smile. But there's one who gets all my devotion, and I'm thinking of her all the while. When my clothes need mending and scrubbing, and only one sock I can find, and my knuckles are swollen with rubbing, why, girlies, you're far from my mind. My thoughts are for one who is dearer than Phyllis or Peggy or May. Each day that I'm gone she seems nearer, and she's feeble, but smiling and gay. Howard H. Hertie, Corporal, 1st Army H.Q. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Little Dreams, by Joseph Mills Hanson, Captain, F.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Little Dreams. Now, France is a pleasant land to know if you're back in a billet town, and a hell of a hole for the human mole where the trenches burrow down. But where doughboys be in their worn OD, whatever their daily grinds, there's a little dream on this sort of theme in the background of their minds. Oh, gee whiz, I'd give my mess kit and the barrel off my gat just to take a stroll up Main Street in a new fedora hat, just to hit the Rexall drug store for an ice cream soda stew, and not a doggoned officer to tell me what to do. Here's a youngster sprawled in an old shell hole with a shosha at his eye. There's some wide H.E. on the next O.P., and a Fokker in the sky. It's 100 yards to his jump-off trench and 10 to the German wire, But what does he hear, more loud and clear than the crack of harassing fire? Echoed footsteps on the marble throbs of a revolving door, and the starter's ticking signal, "Up! Express here, 14th floor." Click of coins on the cigar stand, two stout parties passing by. "I sold short and took no chances. Lackawanna's too damn high." Here's a C.O. down in his dugout deep who once was a poor N.G. The field phone rings, and some one sings, "Red Gulch, sir, 1293, is spilling lac on Mary Black. Have Jane retaliate." 2 minutes more, and he hears Jane roar, while he thinks this hymn of hate: "That North 40 must look pretty, head high now and ears all set. And the haystacks in the meadow, wonder if they've mowed it yet. Crickets clicking in the stubble, apples reddening on the trees. Oh, good Lord, I'm seeing double. That's not gas that made me sneeze." Here's a Q.M. warehouse, locked and still, at the end of a village street. The sunset red on the woods ahead, and a sentry on his beat. The hour chimes from the ancient spire, a child laughs out below, and the sentry's eyes on the western skies behold in the afterglow row on row of smoking chimneys, long steel roofs and swinging cranes, maze of tracks and puffing engines, creeping strings of shunted trains, asphalt streets and stuccoed houses, lots with brick and lath piled high, whips of shade trees by the curbings, yellow trolleys clanging by. These are tawdry thoughts in an epic time for martial souls to own? They are thoughts, my friend, that we would not mend that are bred of our blood and bone. A mustard shell it is very well, and an egg grenade's O.K., but we get our steam from our little dream of the good old U.S.A. Cotton fields along the river, night lights streaming from a mill, corn with curling leaves a-quiver, dump cars lining out a fill, presses roaring in a basement, woods with waters gleaming through. Kaiser Bill, we'll up and go there when we've rid the world of you. Joseph Mills Hanson, Captain F.A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The R.T.O. by A.P. Bowen, Sergeant R.T.O. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The R.T.O. Oh, hear the song of the R.T.O. with his 40 hommes or 80 chevaux. He works in the day and he works at night, for the men must go or the men can't fight. They call him here and they call him there, they ask him why and they ask him where. Oh, his cars don't come, but his cars must go, be it wet or dry or rain or snow, if they call for hommes or they want chevaux. Thus goes the song of the R.T.O. Oh, it's how we love you, R.T.O., with your 40 hommes or 8 chevaux. Say, what'd you do before the war, work in a packing house? Oh, Lord, we got an army in here now, and we ain't got room for our packs and chow. They's 40 hommes aboard, you know, so come ahead with your 8 chevaux and shout allez, and away we'll go. Oh, how we love you, R.T.O. Heaven help the R.T.O. with his 40 hommes or 8 chevaux. He's got 500 men to load on a few small cars and a busy road. Oh, the war won't end if he don't make good, 'cause he's got to send 'em the men and food, be it wet or dry or rain or snow, and they call for hommes or they want chevaux. There's hell to pay if the stuff don't go, so heaven help the R.T.O. A.P. Bowen, Sergeant R.T.O. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Machine Gun by Albert J. Cook, Corporal, M.G.B.N. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Machine Gun. Anywhere and everywhere it's me the soldiers love, underneath the parapet or periscoped above, backing up the barrage fire and always wanting more, chewing up a dozen discs to blast an army corps, crackling, spitting, demon-like, heat riven through and through, fussy, mussy Lewis gun, 3 heroes for a crew. Advocate of peace am I, which same some won't admit. Say, I'd like to see that crowd come out and do their bit, out to where the boys have died, that peace on earth might come sooner than if He above had based His hopes on some. Whimper not, my friends, when men have holy work to do, tuning up the vicar's gun, 3 heroes for a crew. Anywhere and everywhere, from Luz to Ispahan, Yankee, Poilu, Tommy's been with me to a man. Pacifist and fighter, too, I care not where I go, crashing, smashing at the lines that shield the common foe. Anywhere and everywhere, heat riven through and through, fussy, mussy Browning gun, 3 heroes for a crew. Albert J. Cook, Corporal, M.G.B.N. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Our Dead by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Our Dead. They lie entombed in serried ranks, across atop each lonely grave. They rest beneath the peaceful banks they fought so valiantly to save. This ground made sacred by their tears, our starry flag above each head, for upwards of 1,000 years a shrine shall be unto our dead. By Anonymous. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Everybody's Friend by Frederick W. Kurth, Sergeant, M.T.D. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Everybody's Friend. At first we was gay as the ship slipped away from the land where we'd lived all our lives, and we've laughed and we sang till the whole harbor rang, and threw kisses to mothers and wives. But after a while, as we stood there in file, and the people was only a blur, things sort of calmed down, and we just watched the town till we couldn't see nothin' of her. Say, then we felt blue, and you couldn't tell who felt the worst, for we all darn near cried. 'Twas just like when night is a comin' in sight, and you've been where somebody's died. First thing we knew came a roar, and it grew till I'll bet that the Kaiser could hear, for there off one side, lookin' at us with pride, was Liberty, who wouldn't cheer. I s'pose she's still there with the crown in her hair and her lamp givin' light to the land. That may all be so, but there's lots of us know how we still feel the touch of her hand. Sometimes in the night, when there ain't any fight, and we're standin' on guard all alone, like an angel of grace she comes near, and her face cheers our hearts, which was colder'n a stone. In the thick of a scrap, with sweat oozing like sap, she puts her cool hand into ours, and like that everywhere we can feel that she's there, with her help and her smile like the flowers. Frederick W. Kurth, Sergeant, M.T.D. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Stevedore by C.C. Schanfelter, Sergeant, S.C. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Stevedore. We don't pack no gat or rifle. We don't juggle pick or spade, nor go stunnin' peevish Germans in no dashin' midnight raid. But we hit the warehouse early, and we quit the warehouse late, and there ain't no G.O. limits on the speed we truck the freight. We don't hike along the roadway in them iron derby hats, while the shrapnel punctuates the breeze and gas floats o'er the flats. We just dodge the fallen cases and we slap them back on high, for it's just a pile of pilin in the service of supply. No, we ain't no snappy soldiers, and our daily round of drills includes a lot of movements minus military thrills, but we drill them bloomin' box cars, double timin' on the bends, and we slam them full of boxes till they're bulgin' at the ends. We ain't sniped no Fritzy snipers, and we ain't wrecked no tanks, and we don't go dashin' forward with the ever thinnin' ranks, but some nights we gets an order for a shipment on the fly, then we plug right through till mornin' in the service of supply. We ain't got no dugout movies, nor a Charlie Chaplin laugh. We ain't got no handsome colonel with his neat and nifty staff, nor a brave and fearless captain with a flashing sword and gun to yell, "Now up and at 'em, boys! We've got 'em on the run!" We ain't soarin' round in biplanes, punchin' holes in Boche balloons, nor corralling frightened Fritzies by battalions and platoons. But when they yell, "Rush order!" then we get around right spry, for the boys are up there waitin' on the service of supply. C. C. Shanfelter, Sergeant, S. C. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Black and White by Harv, read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Black and White. I was like the child who believed there was a Santa Claus but had never seen him. Only I have seen another world and know it exists. I used to think that there was only one world, a world of mud and bursting shells which killed and wounded me and my pals, a world of hissing bullets and mustard gas, and cold, sleepless nights, and no food for days, and Huns who cried "Kamerad" when their ammunition was gone, and filthy clothes, and cooties, and cooties, and cooties. But now I know that there is also a world of clean sheets and pajamas, and good food and plenty of it, and kind, gentle women in white who give you cocoa and soup, and doctors who give you more than C.C. pills, and peaceful days without a single shell, and peaceful nights, and officers who wear white collars and have only heard of cooties, and visitors who sit on your bed and murmur, "How thrilling!" and street cars and taxis, and buildings without a single shell hole in them, and everything I only dreamed of before. Gosh, but it's a wonderful war, back here. Harv. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Old Campaign Hat by Anonymous, read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Old Campaign Hat. No more against a battle sky with swooping pilots lined, no more where charging heroes die my peaked top you'll find. In training camps and peaceful climes the war is not for me, yet still I dream of other times and what I used to be. The Mauser crackles once again, the smoky Springfield roar avenges those who manned the Maine upon the Cuban shore. Fedora style I did my bit in jungle, sun, and dirt, and now I've got a mortal hit, just like the old blue shirt. I hear the tingling Frisco cheers, the squat Kilpatrick sway, as boldly swung we from the piers Manila months away. Luzon, Panay, I saw them all. Pekin was not the least. Oh, I have felt the siren call that sweeps from out the east. Below the line of Capricorn in divers times and places I've heard retreating yowls of scorn from herds of spigot races. the Rio Grande and Vera Cruz, I knew them like a map, and now it looks as though I lose the jackpot to a cap. No more against a blazing sky where hard-pressed Fokkers flee, no more where charging heroes die, my peaked top you'll see. The trademark of the Johnny's gone, but just between us two, I'll bet you I come back again when this damn war is through. By Anonymous. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. When the General Came to Town, by Vance C. Chris, Corporal, Engineers. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. When the General Came to Town. We was workin' in the office, that is, all exceptin' me, and I was just a settin', as an orderly should be, when a feller wearin' eagles perchin' on his shoulder straps poked his head right in the winder, and he talks right out and snaps, "Who's the officer commandin' over this detachment here?" And the Louis he salutes him, while us rest was feelin' queer. "I am, sir," the Louis tells him, wonderin' what the row's about. "Pershing's comin' in 5 minutes," says the colonel. "All troops out." Gosh, how we did hurry, for we looked a doggone fright. Some had hats a missin', and they warn't a coat in sight. First we cleaned up in the office, then we swept up in the street, and it wasn't many seconds till the place was hard to beat. Next we hunted up our clothin', borried some and swiped some more. Then the Louis got us standing in a line afore the door. Mighty soon around the corner come 2 scrumptious-looking cars, and they wasn't any license on the first one 'cept 4 stars. When the car had stopped right sudden, then the General he stepped out, and without much parleyvooing he begin to look about. They was lots of darky soldiers what was lined up in a row, and he shore looked at 'em careful, walkin' past 'em mighty slow. And the Frenchmen come a flockin', and they couldn't understand why he warn't a wearin' medals and gold braid to beat the band. Then he made a little lecture, giving all them Frenchmen thanks, since they'd acted mighty kind like in a dealin' with his Yanks. All the people started clappin' when his talk come to a close, and a purty little lassie offered him a dandy rose. Sure he took it, smilin' pleasant, like a gift he couldn't miss, and the little maid was happy when he paid her with a kiss. Then he stepped into his auto and he hurried on his way, while us guys went back to workin', feelin' we had had some day. Vance C. Chris, Corporal, Engineers. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Seicheprey by J.M.H. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Seicheprey. A handful came to Seicheprey when winter woods were bare, when ice was in the trenches and snow was in the air. The foe looked down on Seicheprey and laughed to see them there. The months crept by at Seicheprey, the growing handful stayed, with growling guns at midnight, at dawn the lightning raid, and learned in Seicheprey trenches how war's red game is played. September came to Seicheprey. A slow-wrought host arose and rolled across the trenches and whelmed its sneering foes, and left to shattered Seicheprey unending sweet repose. J.M.H. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Before a Drive by Charles Lynn Fox, Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Before a Drive. Loud spitting motor truck and wagon trains, and caissons and guns and infantry, all jammed together in the dark and mud and rain of northern France, moving toward the front. Night after night it had been thus, with days of hard, relentless drudgery spent over maps of war and battle plans, with 1 or 2 or 3, perhaps, short hours of sleep in every 24. Only what chance afforded, till I had lost all trace of time. Day meant but heavy toil, and night dull tramping onward in the mud, buffeted about by caissons and guns and motor trucks. Life was but mud and rain and weary men. And then, one evening ere the march began, I chanced to pause and gaze into the west, and there was all the beauty of the world lying atop the rain bejeweled trees in stripes of crimson, lavender, and blue, and all the other colors known to man. Then darkness came, and I was tramping northward once again, buffeted about by caissons and guns and motor trucks. But lo! The road that night was smooth, my feet were steady, and my heart was gay, for I had looked into the west I love, and there had seen the magic of your smile. Charles Lynn Fox, Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Private Jones, A.E.F. by William I. Engel, Private Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Private Jones, A.E.F. Who is the boy, and what does he do, and what do the gold stripes mean, and why is his mouth so grim and hard while those eyes of his are a dream? Only a private soldier, eh, and he holds his head that high? Putting on airs a bit, I'd say. Nothing about him that's shy. He's been through hell 3 times, you say, and turned up with a grin? He's faced the great unknown so much it holds no fear for him? He's seen the highest lights of life, and deepest shadows, too? He knows what glory means when mixed with mud, red blood, and blue? He's slept in the slush and rain and hummed a tune as the big guns barked? He's eaten a single meal a day, and kept ragtime in his heart? He's fallen 3 times, you say, in the dark, with limp, still things around, and he called the nurse Kid, and asked her to help him get back to that ground? No wonder the mouth is grim and set, no wonder the eyes a dream. The best and worst in life and death the plain buck private has seen. Ah, well, I suppose he'd like to quit and get an easier job. No? Not he? He told you, you say, he wouldn't trade bunks with God? William I. Engel, Private Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. 40, Chevaux 8 by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. 40, Chevaux 8. Roll, roll, roll over the rails of France. See the world and its map unfurled, 5 centimes in your pants. What a noble trip, jolt and jog and jar, 40 we, with equipment C, in one flat-wheeled box car. We are packed by hand, shoved aboard in teens. Pour a little oil on us and we would be sardines. Rations? Ooh la la! And how we love the man who learned how to intern our chow in a cold and clammy can. Beans and beef and beans, beef and beans and beef. Willie raw, he will win the war. Take in your belt a reef. Mess kits flown the coop, cups gone up the spout. Use your thumbs for issue forks, and pass the bull about. Hit the floor for bunk, 6 to 1 place. It's no fair to the bottom layer to kick 'em in the face. Move the corporal's feet out of my left ear. Lay off, Sarge, you are much too large. I'm not a bed-sack, dear. Lift my head up, please, from this bag of bread. Put it on somebody's chest. Then I'll sleep like the dead. Roll, 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 yammer and snore and fight, traveling zoo the whole day through, and bedlam all the night. 4 days in the cage, going from hither hence. Ain't it great to ride by freight at good old uncle's expense? Anonymous. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Bugler, by Lynn Davies, private. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Bugler. A patient in Base Hospital 48. "I can't blow taps no more," he says to me. They've kidded him outside the barracks door. "I used to do it pretty well before I played my buddy off. It's war, but don't you see?" The moon was full and white and shinin' free about the way it's shinin' there tonight. We started up, and Buddy got it right. A piece of shrap. It dropped him out of the fight alongside me. We laid him in the clay, and it was me that sounded taps. There was no other way. I can't blow taps no more. But say, I tapped a German skull the other day, and that squares me. Lynn Davies, private. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Return of the Refugees, by Frederick W. Kurth, Sergeant, M.T.D. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Return of the Refugees. They pick their way o'er the shell-pocked road as the evening shadows fall, a man and woman, their eyes agleam with awe at war's black pall. The straggling strands of her snowy hair are tossed in the wind's rude breath. His frail form shakes as the whistling gusts sweep o'er the field of death. With straining eyes, hearts beating fast, they seek to gaze ahead to where they left their little home when from the Hun they fled. 'Neath the heights of a hill o'erlooking the vale, half hid in a purple shade, the dim outline of the town comes to view, and they hasten down the glade. At last the town, the street, and home. But, God, can it be this? This pile of stones, this hideous hulk, this gaping orifice? The sun has set, the evening star sends down its soothing light. Gone are the tears, their hearts are strong, for God, for France, and right. Frederick W. Kurth, Sergeant, M.T.D. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. As the Trucks Go Rolling By L. W. Suckert, First Lieutenant, A.S. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. As the trucks go rollin' by. There's a rumble and a jumble and a bumpin' and a thud as I wakens from my restless sleep here in my bed o' mud. And I pull my blankets tighter underneath my shelter fly, and listen to the thunder o' the trucks a rollin' by. They're jumpin' and they're humpin' through the inky gloom o' night, and I wonder how them drivers see without a glim o' light. I can hear the clutches roarin' as they throw the gears in high, and the radiators boilin' as the trucks go rollin' by. There's some a draggin' cannons. You can spot the sound all right. The rumblin' ones is heavies, and the rattly ones is light. The clinkin' shells is pointin' up their noses at the sky. Oh, you can tell what's passin' as the trucks go rollin' by. But most of 'em is packin' loads of human Yankee freight that'll slam the old soft pedal onto Heine's hymn o' hate. You can hear 'em singin' Dixie and the Sweet By and By, and Where Do We Go From Here, Boys, as the trucks go rollin' by. Some singin' songs as when I left they wasn't even ripe, a showin' that they's rookies what ain't got a service stripe. But just the same they're good old Yanks, and that's the reason why I likes the jazz and barber shop o' the trucks a rollin' by. Just God and General Pershing knows where these here birds light, where them bumpin' trucks is bound for under camouflage o' night, when they can't take aero pictures with their Fokkers in the sky of our changes of location by the trucks a rollin' by. So, although my bed is puddles and I'm soaked through to the hide, my heart's out with them doughboys on their bouncin', singin' ride. They're bound for paths of glory, or, p'raps, to fight and die. God bless that Yankee cargo in the trucks a rollin' by. L. W. Suckert, 1st Lieutenant, A.S. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Gettin' Letters by E.C.D. Field Hospital. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Gettin' Letters. When you're far away from home and you're feelin' kind of blue, when the world is topsy-turvy, nothin' sets just right for you, you can sneer at all your troubles and your cares you never mind, when you really had a letter from the girl you left behind, when the cook is downright nutty and his biscuits never raise, when he feeds you canned tomatoes for just 17 straight days, you can quite forget he's nutty. You can treat him fairly kind if you've really had a letter from the girl you left behind. When the captain's got a grouch on and has bawled you out for fair, when some pesky Lieut has sassed you, which to home he wouldn't dare, you can lift your chin and whistle, and that's easy, you will find, if you've really had a letter from the girl you left behind. When a letter comes you grab it right before the other guys, and you get a little vision of the light that's in her eyes. You can see her smiles and dimples, and for other girls you're blind when you've really had a letter from the girl you left behind. Just a sheet or two of paper with a purple stamp or two, but it means the whole creation to the heart and soul of you, and you get to feelin' pious, and you pray a bit, you mind, for the great Almighty's blessin' on the girl you left behind. E.C.D. Field Hospital. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To the Children of France by R. Kirk, Private, G2, SOS. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. To the Children of France. I wish you, children, playing round on this too rudely trampled ground, only the good things I would send to all the children I befriend. But one wish circles all, to know little of what your elders do, and somehow into the sunlight grow out of the mists they stumble through. R. Kirk, Private, G2, SOS. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Then We'll Come Back to You by Corporal Howard H. Hurty, 1st Army Headquarters Regiment. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Then we'll come back to you. Some day, when screaming shells are but a dream that vanished with the dawn of better days, when love and faith are really what they seem, and treachery is lost in fleeting haze, when each sweet day recalls a noble deed, wherein a blinding flash plays not a part, and truth at last has sown the godly seed that springs to trust and joy in every heart, some day, though it be farther down the years than ever mortal gazed or planned ahead, when we have made them pay for all your tears, and squared accounts for comrades who have bled, when we can feel that storms of greed and lust will never more engulf our skies of blue, when you can live and know each sacred trust, and not till then will we come back to you. Corporal Howard H. Hurty, 1st Army Headquarters Regiment. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To a Doughboy by Anonymous. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. To a Doughboy. I watched you slog down a dusty pike, one of many so much alike, with a spirit keen as a breath of flame, ready to rise and ready to strike whenever the fitting moment came. Just a kid, with a boyish grin, waiting the order to hustle in and lend your soul to the battle thrill, unafraid of the battle din or the guns that crashed from a hidden hill. I watched you leap to the big advance, with a smile for fate and its fighting chance, sweeping on till the charge was done. I saw your grave on a slope of France, where you fell asleep when the fight was won. Just a kid who had earned his rest with a rifle and helmet above his breast, who proved in answer to German jeers that a kid can charge a machine-gun nest without the training of 40 years. I watched the shadows drifting by as gray dusk came from a summer's sky, and lost winds came from beyond the fight, and I seemed to hear them croon and sigh, "Sleep, little dreamer, sleep tonight. Sleep tonight, for I'm bringing you a prayer and a dream from the home you knew. And I'll take them word of the big advance, and how you fought till the game was through, and you fell asleep in the dust of France." Anonymous. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Little Pal o' Mine by E.S.E. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Lil' pal o' mine, just a wee remembrance of a little child so fair from Dad, who coaxed himself away to leave you over there. Just a little thought or two, a dream, a wish, a prayer for you, my little Smiler girl, across the sea back there. Just a bit of daddy love, to you I send it all, your eyes, your smile, your golden hair, your love for Raggy Doll. Just a little tear sometimes. Yes, men, they weaken too. War is hard, but harder still is being away from you. E.S.E. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Perfect Contrition by Thomas F. Coakley, Lieutenant, Chaplain. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Perfect Contrition. Send for a priest, the small disk read that clasped his neck around, but he, brave soul, was long since dead when found upon the ground. A crucifix was in his hand, stained by his bloody kiss, this newest of the martyr band, to taste of heaven's bliss. Thomas F. Coakley, Lieutenant, Chaplain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. When Private Mugram's Parlez-Vous by Charles Devine, Private. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. When Private Mugram's Parlez-Vous. I can count my francs and centimes if I've got a basket near, and I speak a wicked bonjour, but the verbs are awful queer, and I lose a lot of pronouns when I try to talk to you, for your eyes are so bewitchin' I forget to parlez-vous. In your pretty little garden, with the bench beside the wall, and the sunshine on the asters, and the purple phlox so tall, I should like to whisper secrets, but my language goes askew with the second person plural for the more familiar two. In your pretty little garden I could always say je t'aime, but it ain't so very subtle, and it ain't not quite the same as you've got some dandy earrings, or your eyes are nice and brown. But my adjectives get manly right before a lady noun. Those infinities perplex me. I can say you're très jolie, but beyond that simple statement all my tenses don't agree. I can make the Boche comprene when I meet 'em in the trench, but the softer things escape me when I try to yap in French. In your pretty little garden darn the idioms that dance on your tongue so sweet and rapid, and they hold me in a trance, though I stutter and I stammer in your garden on the bench, yet my heart is writin' poems when I talk to you in French. Charles Devine, Private. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. If I Were a Cootie, by A.P. Bowen, Sergeant, R.T.O. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. If I Were a Cootie. If I were a cootie, pro-Ally of course, I'd hie me away on a Potsdam-bound horse, and I'd seek out the Kaiser, the war-maddened cuss, and I'd be a bum cootie if I didn't muss his imperial hide from his head to his toe. He might hide from the bombs, but I'd give him no show. If I were a cootie, I'd deem it my duty to thus treat the Kaiser, ah oui. And after I'd thoroughly covered Bill's area, I'd hasten away to the Prince of Bavaria, and chew him a round or two under the linden, then pack up my things and set out for old Hindon. Old Hindy's the guy always talkin' about straffing. To think what I'd do to that bird sets me laughing. If I were a cootie, I'd deem it my duty to thus threat the Prince and old Hindy, ah oui. I'd ne'er get fed up on imperial gore. I might rest for a while, but I'd go back for more. I'd spend a few days with that Austrian crew, and young Karl himself I'd put down for a chew. There'd be no meatless days for this cootie, I know. They'd all get one jolly good straffing or so. For if I were a cootie, I'd deem it my duty to thus treat their damships, ah oui. A.P. Bowen, Sergeant, R.T.O. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Lily, by Howard J. Green, Corporal, Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Lily. The lily sadly drooped her head. My France is bowed in grief, she said. Must I live on to satisfy the conquering Teuton's lustful eye? Lord, let me wither, let me die. The lily proudly raised her head. My France is free once more, she said. Free from dark and blood-smirched gloom, the ruthless Hun has met his doom. Lord, let me gladden, let me bloom. Howard J. Green, Corporal, Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Me and War Goin' On, by John Palmer Cumming, Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Me and war goin' on. Me a leadin' a column, me that women have loved, me a leadin' a column of Yanks and tracin' her name in the stars, me that ain't seen the purple hills before all mixed in the skies, with the gray dawn meltin' to azure there, me that ain't a poet growin' poetic, and the flash of the guns on the skyline, and red wine, and France, and me laughin', and war, and Slim Jim singin' a song, and a lop-eared mule a kickin' a limber, and axles thout no grease hollerin' Maggie at me, me that women have loved, and war goin' on. Mornin' comin', and me a leadin' a column along o' them from the college, along o' them from the streets, and them as had mothers that spiled them, and them as hadn't, lovin' names in the stars, and Slim Jim singin' a song, and folks to home watchin' them, too, and Maggie that never had loved me, lovin' me now, and thinkin' and cryin' for me that loved Maggie that never loved me till now. Mornin' comin', and me a leadin' a column, and a town in the valley round the bend in the road, and Ginger strainin' his neck and thinkin' o' picket lines, and me and the rest of them thinkin' o' home and eggs down there in the village, and Coney startin' to close at home, and Maggie mashed in the crowd, and me a leadin' the column, and war goin' on. Me that hollered for water with a splinter o' hell in my side, me that have laid in the sun a cursin' the beggars and stretchers as looked like they'd never a come, me that found God with the gas at my throat, and raved like a madman for Maggie, and wanted a wooden cross over me, and Slim Jim back o' me singin' and tracin' a name in the fade o' the stars. Me knowin' that some'll be ridin' that's walkin' to night, knowing that some'll never see Broadway again, and red wine, and Little Italy, and Maggie's like mine, me a murmurin' a prayer for Maggie, and stoppin' to laugh at Slim, and shouting, "To the right o' the road for the Swoyzant cans!" Them babies that raised such hell up the line, and marchin' by night, and sleepin' by day, and France, and red wine, and me thinkin' o' home, me a leadin' the column, and war goin' on. John Palmer Cumming, Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Road to Montfaucon, by Harold Reiselman, 1st Lieutenant, C.W.S. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Road to Montfaucon. MP, the road from Avocault that leads to Montfaucon? The road, sir, black with mules and carts, and brown with men a marchin' on, the Moragna woods that lie beyond the ruined heights of Montfaucon. North over reclaimed no man's land the martyred road leads, quick with forward moving hosts, and quick with valiant deeds avenging Rheims, Liege, and Lille, and outraged gods and creeds. There lies the road from Avocault that leads to Montfaucon, past sniper and machine gun nest, by steel and thermite cleansed, they've gone, and there in thunderous echelon the ruined heights of Montfaucon. Harold Reiselman, 1st Lieutenant, C.W.S. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Vestal Star, by Fra Guido, F.A. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Vestal Star. The long, long march is o'er, the weary roaming. We bivouac, yearning for a peaceful night. I lie and dream amid the purple gloaming, and scan the heavens for a beacon light. As graying shadows lengthen o'er the landscape, and gentle zephyrs lightly stir the air, in yon first twinkling star I gleam a vision of little sister offering up a prayer. Fra Guido, F.A. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Doughboy Promises, by Arthur McKeough, Lieutenant, Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Doughboy Promises. She. When you come back, and 'twill be such returning as only lips like mine can sanctify, then will my arms that ache with endless yearning find sweet surcease from the regret of learning to give you up, if need there be, to die. Should you come back aged from the toil of fighting, marred it may be, though perfect you set out, what matters, so your heart has known no blighting, your soul has met the test without affrighting. What is there, dear one, after that to doubt? Oh, but you must come back to me, beloved. Wounded or no, you must come back. He. When I come back, beneath my helmet muddy, there'll be a smile stored through the strife for you, there'll be a kiss, tender and warm, aye, ruddy, with hint of Gallic skies, for my real buddy. That's soldier talk, and soldier talk rings true. As I come back down the street, flags adorning, half seeing all the pomp for sight of you, for taste, I'll know of gladsome days a morning for us, come out of night at last to morning from the long trail that terminates for two. Oh, but I will come back to you, my mother. Wounded? Why, no, I will come back. Arthur McKeough, Lieutenant Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Old Lady Rumor by C. H. McCoy, Base Hospital 38. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Old Lady Rumor. There is nothing like a rumor just to set the gang afire. They receive it and believe it. Does it matter who's the liar? No, it doesn't, for as often as we hear of something new, though it's doubted, it is shouted by our gossip-lovin' crew. Conversation is a morsel, and with greedy appetite how we chew it as we brew it, be it daytime, be it night. Back in the States it started and continues o'er the foam, and we'll swally it, by golly, when we join the soldiers home. Amen. C. H. McCoy, Base Hospital 38. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Lost Towns by Stuart M. Emery, Private, M.P. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. The Lost Towns. Beneath the new moon sleeping the little lost towns lie. Their streets are very white and hushed, their black spires tilt the sky. Across the darkened meadows a plaintive night bird calls. The sea of fog that clouds the fields rolls softly to their walls. Within their shuttered houses no midnight candles glance. Their womenfolk are all abed, their menfolk fight for France. They dream the little lost towns of Alsace and Lorraine, the vision of the patient years, the old frontier again. Sleep on, nor cease your dreaming, who pitied men and crowns. We'll bring you back, we'll bring you back, O little long lost towns. Stuart M. Emery, Private, M.P. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Der Tag by Howard J. Green, Corporal, Infantry. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. Der Tag. In answer to the German toast Der Tag, in which the German warlords toasted the time when Deutschland would be über alles. Here's to the day when the whole thing is won. Here's to the day when the Kaiser is done. Here's to the day when we break his swelled dome. Here's to the day that we go marching home. Long restful nights with cursed cootie bites, things of the past. Hot baths at last, real dollar bills, no more O.D. pills. Chicken instead of our canned willy chow, all of the ice cream the law will allow. Mess in the way we want to be messed. Dress in the way we like to be dressed. Neckties and suits, no more salutes. A nice comfy bed with a mattress instead of some billet floor that makes your ribs sore. The day when we no longer blister our heels, but know how to ride in the old subway feels. The day that we no longer parler français, but speak once again in the good old home way. Keep running, Fritz, as you're now on the run, and before very long you will be a licked Hun, with Der Tag that you toasted time-worn and passé, while we drink triumphantly, here's to our day. Howard G. Green, Corporal, Infantry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. There's about 2 million fellows. by Albert J. Cook, Sergeant, Headquarters Detachment, Army Corps. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. There's about 2,000,000 fellows. There's about 2,000,000 fellows from the north, south, east, and west who scurried up the gangplank of a ship. They have felt the guy ropes paying, and the troop ship gently swaying as it started on its journey from the country of the blest. They have washed in hard salt water, bucked the army transport grub, had a hitch of crow's nest duty on the way, strained their eyes, mistaking whitecaps for a humpback Prussian sub just at twilight, when the danger's great, they say. When their ship had lost the convoy they were worried just a bit, and rather thought the skipper should be canned, and the sigh of heartfelt feeling almost set the boat to reeling when each of those 2,000,000 sighted land. There's about 2,000,000 fellows that have landed here in France. They're scattered God and G.H.Q. nowhere. By the cranes where steamers anchor, schooner, tramp, or greasy tanker, there's an O.D. outfit waiting just to make the cargo dance. They are chopping in the forest, double timing on the roads, putting two ways where a single went before. In the cabs of sweating engines, pushing, pulling double loads, when the R.T.O.'s in frenzied tones implore. For it's duty, solid duty, with the hustling men behind, from the P of E's on up to No Man's Land. And there's never chance of shirking when the boys up front are working. Night and day must go the answer to the front line's stern demand. There's about 2,000,000 fellows, and there's some of them who lie where 88's and GI's gently drop, where the trucks and trains are jamming, and the colonel he is damning half the earth, and in particular the service of supply. They have had a stretch of trenches, beat the Prussian at his best, seen their buddies fall like heroes right beside, but there's nigh 2,000,000 fellows from the country of the blest who know the cause for which their comrades died, who have crossed the sluggish shallows where their little life streams ran, and broadened such a trifle, you will find, and their vision's cleaner, clearer, and they hold just that much dearer the great and glorious land they left behind. Albert J. Cook, Sergeant, Headquarters Detachment, Army Corps. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. November 11th, by Hilmer R. Baukage, Private, A.E.F. Read by John Greenman for LibriVox.org. November 11th. We stood up and we didn't say a word. It felt just like when you have dropped your pack after a hike and straightened out your back and seemed just twice as light as any bird. We stood up straight, and God, but it was good! When you have crouched like that for months, to stand straight up and look right out toward No Man's Land and feel the way you never thought you could. We saw the trenches on the other side, and Jerry, too, not making any fuss, but probably stupid happy, just like us. Nobody shot, and no one tried to hide. If you had listened then I guess you'd heard a sort of sigh from everybody there. But all we did was stand and stare and stare. Just stare and stand, and never say a word. Hilmer R. Baukage, Private, A.E.F. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of Yanks, A.E.F. American Expeditionary Forces, Verse from World War I, by Various.